Morning, and welcome to this 31 January 2021 virtual service at the UUFDC. I'm so very pleased that you've chosen to join us. My name is Hank Wolst. I'm a member of this fellowship, and today I'm honored to be your service leader. To all joining, let me extend warm wishes and best wishes for your good health, for your safety, for your compassion, for your comfort, for your warmth, for your kindness, for your love, and for your faith, which together with mine will allow us to get through this. You know, I've used that greeting, I think, on each of the 5 times that I have been service leader during the pandemic, but now is the first time that I truly have a sense of confidence, more so than ever before, and I do believe that there is absolutely a light at the end of the tunnel. Though we're not there yet, but vaccines and vaccinations, a new administration, and a restoration of truth and decency and empathy in our national dialogue will make that light shine ever brighter, and will make that distance to the end of the tunnel ever shorter, and will make that trip ever quicker. I will now light the chalice and share the words of Bruce Springsteen from his song, Land of Hope and Dreams. Grab your ticket and your suitcase. Thunder is rolling down this track. Well, you don't know where you're going now, but you know you won't be back. Well, darling, if you're weary, lay your head upon my chest. We'll take what we can carry, and we'll leave the rest. Big wheels roll through fields where sunlight streams. Meet me in a land of hope and dreams. Well, we'll provide for you, and I'll stand by your side. You'll need a companion now for this part of the ride. Leave behind your sorrows. Let this day be the last. Tomorrow there'll be sunshine, and all this darkness will be past. Big wheels roll through fields where sunlight streams. Oh, meet me in a land of hope and dreams. Sarah provides us with regular emails on a weekly basis that alert us to joys and hopes and concerns. And I invite you to read them and to revel in the joys and to reach out in the hurts and to remember the sorrows. It is our custom at this point in our service to recite the unison affirmation, so please join me. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. I will now recite the doxology. Please join me. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, in every land, by every tongue. Our speaker today is the Reverend Mark Richards. I'll talk a little bit more about Mark later. I learned about a week or so ago that Mark would be talking about covenant. It's a word that we hear often and in lots of different contexts, spiritual, legal, behavioral, societal, theological. Knowing that Mark would be addressing it got me to thinking more about the word covenant. What example can I cite of how covenant touched me? Let me offer a bit of personal history and one application of the word as I see it. Today it's 31 January 2021. It's not a day commemorated on our calendars for any momentous event. It's not a holiday, but it's special to me. You see, it was on 31 January 1953, some 68 years ago, that there occurred in the Netherlands the most horrific flood there in modern times. Now, Netherlands means lowlands, and I think we all know that it's a country that has big portions of it actually below sea level. And while there have been more significant floods in the past, measured in number of lives lost, for example, the Christmas flood of 1717, the events of 31 January 1953 were momentous in their impact on this nation of just a wee bit over 10 million people. Remember that it was only 8 years prior that the country had been liberated from its German occupation of 5 years' duration. Remember as well that flooding, in the southwest especially, had been used alternatively by the Germans and the Allies as a tool of war, each to evict the other. And so on 31 January and extending into 1 February, vicious storms on the North Sea pounded and pummeled the fragile seawalls, penetrating and overflowing them, particularly in the province of Zeeland. The floods resulted in about 2,500 deaths and the loss of about 10% of arable farmland. To put things in perspective, the number of deaths was about equivalent to what would be the loss of 75,000 people in our nation today. I'm from Zeeland. I was too young to remember it. So what did the Dutch do? Well, in 17 days, they decided never again. In that span of time, they covenanted with and amongst themselves to create a new infrastructure designed to forevermore keep the sea at bay. No, that wasn't a pun. This national covenant was accepted, adopted, and implemented, the latter over a number of years. But this national covenant provided the financial, engineering, resource, and emotional underpinnings for an effort that has been called the seventh wonder of the modern world. And indeed, no flood has occurred since. And while the Netherlands, along with all of us, fears the longer-term implications of global warming, that covenant made many years ago compels them now to work to develop new modifications, new engineering, new enhancements to the Delta Works, so that it will protect them on into the future. That is the covenant the nation made with itself back then and upholds today in addressing the very real threat to its survival. And while there may be many distinct differences along the political spectrum in the Netherlands, they have about 26 political parties. On this point, there is pretty universal agreement and acceptance. A covenant, if you will. We are challenged in our Unitarian Universalist Fellowship to covenant together for more modest but no less meaningful ends, be it a board covenant or a congregational covenant or a spiritual covenant. But the purpose and rationale for any is common. Agreement, acceptance, and common purpose in working together fairly and respectfully for a common good, a common goal. Though I've known Mark Richards for a couple of years, having met him here at UUFDC, I got to know him better and to appreciate him more late last year when Mark, as a hospice chaplain, gave counsel and comfort to a very dear friend and his family as that friend lay dying. My friend's widow shared with me that Mark and her husband hit it off almost from the get-go, and that Mark's company helped prepare my friend and the family for what they knew was inevitable. He brought great comfort to them. She also shared with me an interesting aside, an interesting side of Mark that I wasn't aware of, because she said that he's got an excellent singing voice. Nice to know. Mark's going to talk about covenant, and so I'll turn it over to him.